Right, now, do you remember April this year when the Iberian peninsula went dark? If you have, oh look. If you have friends or relations over there, no doubt they were panicking, and the importance of preparation was... In fact, double resilience is always best, isn't it? Hang on a second. This may help get us through. I thought I was going to get it on my head. Oh, I don't know. There we are. Right. Yes, it was an awful time. It was an awful time. It was Portugal, it was Spain, it was bits of southwest France as well. It was the biggest interruption they'd have for about 20 years. And it was down, apparently, to cascading over voltages. Now, you will know whether that makes sense or whether that's just a line from a press release. But that was the issue. And at Boom Radio, we had people working for us in Spain, and they were, they couldn't voice track their shows. But more importantly, they couldn't tell us what was happening anyway because we couldn't get in touch with them. So all sorts of problems. And this is when radio really comes into its own, isn't it? In fact, the Home Office advice always says, make sure you have a radio and batteries. But of course, they're presuming we're still on the air, aren't they? And I'm guessing, not being an engineer, that it's more difficult now than it was when you had building cable transmitter, because there's all sorts of other stuff going on. So what happens when something like that happens? What lessons can we learn? In a couple of minutes, we'll hear from someone who's coped in many circumstances like that. Monica Palomo, Director of Engineering, Systems and Technology at RTP, which is the public service broadcaster in Portugal. And she's also a member of the EBU Technical Committee. But first of all, let's watch this.
Good morning, everyone. On April 28th this year, something extraordinary happened in Portugal and Spain. A sudden, unexpected blackout that left tens of millions of people without electricity for several hours. Today, I want to take you inside RTP, Portugal's public broadcaster, to show how our radio services became the country's most reliable source of information during those critical hours. This presentation is not just about what happened. It's about what we learned, what we went well, what didn't, and the steps we are taking to strengthen our resilience. My goal is to give you a practical, honest account that you can apply in your own organizations. On April 28th, at around 11:30 in the morning, a large-scale grid failure occurred in Portugal and Spain. It affected nearly 60 million people. Electricity vanished almost instantly from homes and hospitals to airports, mobile towers, and fuel stations. The situation quickly became more than an inconvenience. It became a test of national resilience. Digital services were disrupted. Mobile networks were either saturated or simply offline, and television broadcasting became unstable. In this environment, radio suddenly regained its traditional role as a lifeline, not as a nostalgic medium, but as one of the few systems designed to operate independently of the public electricity grid. Let me walk you through the key moments from an operational perspective. 11:30, the national power failure begins. RTP facilities automatically switch to UPS and generate power. At this point, both radio and television remain on air as normal. Everything is functioning under emergency power. Around 14:12, this is the turning point. A protection breaker on the TV generator, incorrectly calibrated during maintenance months earlier, trips under load. With that single event, the TV continuity chain collapses. Servers go down, telephony fails, and all TV channels, including the Azores and Madeira, disappear from air because their fears ran through Lisbon. 14:30 onwards. After identifying the problem, the breaker is reset, and systems begin recovery. Slowly, continuity and servers are reloaded. 15:25. We came up with a creative workaround by routing the RTP news channel from Porto through the Altice Transmission Center in Monsanto, allowing us to restore at least one TV service. As for the radio, we decided to air Antenna 1, our main news channel, on every radio broadcast. 1945. Full control of television continuity is restored. Throughout all of this, radio never left the air. During the blackout, it quickly became clear that television and digital platforms were out of reach for most people. There was simply no power at home, and mobile phones soon ran out of battery or lost network coverage. Radio became the only way to reach citizens. Many people use portable radios with batteries or listened into their cars, sometimes gathering in park lots just to hear the latest news. Radio provided not just information, but also reassurance, updates on when power might return, and advice from authorities. This experience reinforced radio's unique value. In a crisis, it remains the most resilient and accessible medium for public communication. Inside RTP, the situation was controlled, but intense. With UPS autonomy limited to about 30 minutes, TV servers and telephony began shutting down after the breaker trip. Radio, however, smoothly transitioned to generator power and continued operating without interruption. Communication quickly became one of our main challenges. Mobile networks were unreliable, so coordination relied on landlines were available, satellite links, DSNG vans, and even personal improvisation. Reporters in the field reverted to older, more resilient technologies. And then there were the human challenges. Our main canteen sat down because they couldn't cook, leaving staff running on coffee, snacks, and pure determination. But morale stayed surprisingly high. Humor became a kind of internal survival mechanism. Despite the pressure, teams remained calm, collaborative, and focused. That mindset was just as important as the technology. During the blackout, radio wasn't simply another platform. It became the national communication backbone. Why? Because our FM and AM transmitters are powered by local generators distributed around the country. They don't depend on a single broadcast center. They also don't rely on the mobile network, the internet, or the national power grid. As mobile phone services deteriorated, people turned to car radios, battery-powered sets, and small solar receivers. Listener feedback in the days that followed was incredibly telling. Many said radio was their only real connection to reliable information during the blackout. For all of us in public service broadcasting, I think this reinforces a key idea. Radio isn't old, it's resilient. And in moments of crisis, resilience is what truly matters. Now, let's be honest about what went wrong, because that's where the real value lies. Internally, the most significant failure was human. The misconfiguration of a generator breaker in the TV power system. I wasn't detected during regular maintenance, and it created a single point of failure that had dramatic consequences. We also discovered inconsistencies in how emergency power was distributed. Some non-essential areas were powered, while some essential ones weren't. Additionally, although radio had clear emergency procedures, RTP as a whole didn't have an integrated, organization-wide continuity plan in place. Many decisions were improvised, relying on individual experience rather than formal structure. Externally, we were hit by issues beyond our control. Mobile networks collapsed in several regions. Our 4G, 5G-based reporting system, like LiveView, were unreliable. Fuel could not be delivered, which put generator autonomy at risk. Even catering suppliers were unable to operate. All these vulnerabilities show us that resilience is never just technical. It's organizational, logistical, and human. Despite the difficulties, several things went exceptionally well. Most importantly, all radio services remained on air continuously throughout the blackout. Our transmitter infrastructure proved robust, and generator performance was solid nationwide. Our partner, Altice, maintained critical connectivity where many other services collapsed. That helped us preserve essential links. Staff across engineering, news, radio, and operations demonstrated real adaptability. Radio teams applied established emergency procedures exactly as designed. And technically, our engineers came up with creative solutions, such as routing RTP3 to the Altice Transmission Center. In many ways, this incident confirmed that radio operations inside RTP are built on a strong foundation on both infrastructure and people. We discovered that in time of crisis, people aren't looking for entertainment. They're hunting for one thing, news. And RTP delivered news on every station. At the organizational level, this event accelerated major improvements that were already being discussed. First, we are developing a complete operational continuity framework, including a continuity policy, a comprehensive risk and impact analysis, a crisis management plan, and emergency communication plans. We're also formalizing supplier continuity management, especially for fuel and critical services. Second, there is a strong focus on infrastructure. We're auditing all electrical panels, generators, and UPS systems, including full load generator testing. We are correcting vulnerabilities identified in maintenance procedures. And importantly, we are interconnecting the TV and radio generators so one can back up the other if needed. Third, we are investing in people. This means regular crisis simulations, more structured training, and stronger supervision of critical installations. The idea is simple. When the next crisis comes, and it will, decisions should rely not only in instinct, but on preparation. I want to share one final aspect that often gets forgotten, in technical reports mainly, the human dimension. During the blackout, staff faced long hours, uncertainty, and limited resources. Yet humor, solidarity, and professionalism kept the atmosphere surprisingly positive. Radio presenters remained calm and reassuring on air. They understood their responsibility, and listeners later told us how much that calm tone mattered. A small joke spread through the building that day. When everything else fails, call radio. After this incident, it stopped being a joke. It became a reminder of radio's central role in national resilience. To close, let me highlight 5 essential takeaways that may be relevant for all public broadcasters. First, radio must be treated as critical national infrastructure, because during a crisis, it truly is. Second, small technical details can take down very large systems, so maintenance and testing have to be uncompromising. Third, continuity plan must cover the entire organization, not just individual departments. Fourth, people and communication are as important as hardware. Training is a resilience tool. And finally, on that day, television went black, but radio shone brighter than ever. Thank you for your attention.